Hello, welcome to another module on performance management system. In this module, we will talk about a brief understanding of various types of performance management systems and how to choose them for our organization. Types of management systems. In our previous modules, we have learned that if done correctly, performance management connects two elements, which is individual work and organizational goals, to accomplish alignment, the very thing that creates and sustains continuous improvement. Having a performance management system in place, a framework that guides you to approach to create alignment, is the starting point to make it all happen, which means setting up performance management system is the first point towards a better performance and making the system thrive. In this section, we will deep dive into the three commonly used forms of performance management systems for goal setting. One is management by objective, which is also known as MBO. Second is the balanced scorecard approach, which is also known as BSC. And third is the most common term which nowadays is in, which is OKR, which means objectives and key results. First, let's deep dive into management by objectives, MBO. Management by objective method was created by influential management consultant Peter Drucker, which has gained considerable popularity over a period of time. It is based on the philosophy of converting organizational objectives into personal commitment, leading to improved performance. Under this method, managers and employees together identify, plan, organize, and communicate objectives to focus on during a specific appraisal period. So the point to be noted here is that the goals are jointly decided by the manager and employee. So it's mutually discussed and then decided. After setting the clear goals, managers and subordinates periodically discusses the progress made to control and debate on the feasibility of achieving those set objectives. At the end of the review period, whether it is quarterly, half-yearly, or annual, as per the annual performance cycle defined by the organization, employees are judged by their results. Success is rewarded with promotion and a salary hike, whereas failure is dealt with transfer of further training. This process usually lays more stress on tangible goals, and intangible aspects like interpersonal skills, commitment, etc., are often brushed under the rugs. That means these are not of primary focus. The main focus is on tangible goals. This is a broad view of the PMS process. How does it work? So the first step, the process starts with goal setting. At the outset, the organizational goals, level goals are set and defined basis the organization's long-term and short-term strategy. Then second step is defining employee objectives. The goals are then cascaded down from top to bottom, creating an integrated hierarchy of objectives through the entire organization, all set towards a common direction. Then, MBO is a continuous process of critically reviewing and restating the company's strategies and technical plans, clarifying key result areas and improving plans of individuals by the manager. This means that even the midterm corrections or changes in the KRAs can take place in case of change in the department's or the organization's strategy or objective. So it is not fixed that once a KRA is set in the beginning of the year, it will remain fixed for the complete year, but can change basis the organizational focus and objective. All this is done through the third step, which is continuous monitoring and progress of the performance. The fourth step comes as performance evaluation. The individual's performance as per the KRAs are systematically evaluated as per the PMS review cycle and timelines, resulting in identifying the achievements and areas that lag behind and the reason behind it to discuss and deciding the corrective action plan. Then comes providing feedback. Now, in the MBO approach, the most essential set or step is providing feedback on the results and objectives, as it enables the employee to track and make corrections to their actions. So basis the performance evaluation, what has been discussed between the employee and the manager provides the feedback on the performance to the employee. And the last steps comes as performance appraisal, which is the final step to reward success with promotion or a salary hike, whereas failure is dealt with transfer or further training. That means it's not left that if you have not achieved your targets, you would be just left behind or considered as a non-performer, but some corrective measures, the reason for non-performance would be identified and further development work would be taking place on the individual unless there is a scope in the individual to perform. In case the person is absolutely a non-fit, then some other steps of transfer or working on the same role can be thought of. This is another view of the MBO process flow for your reference, where the manager and the employee together plans, monitors, and reviews the performance and loops the feedback provided by the manager for corrective actions. So everywhere you can notice that in MBO, the things are done jointly. It is not in isolation only by the manager, but everywhere the employees buy-in exists. This is the main crux or the main gist of the MBO process. The advantages of MBO process are that the management by objectives helps employee appreciate their on-the-job roles and responsibilities. The key results areas planned are specific to each employee, depending on their interest, education, qualification, and specialization. The MBO approach usually results in better teamwork and communication. It provides the employee with a clear understanding of what is expected of them. The supervisor sets goals for every member of the team, and every employee is provided with a list of unique tasks. Every employee is assigned unique goals, hence each employee feels indispensable to the organization and eventually develops a sense of loyalty to the organization. Managers help ensure the subordinates' goals are related to the objective of the organization. Along with the advantages, there are certain disadvantages of MBO as well, which are it can only succeed when there complete support from all the levels of the management, especially top management. Managers may fall into the trap of setting unrealistic expectations in order to achieve outcomes, and this can adversely affect the employee's morale. It increases the scope and quantity of meeting, which in turn increases the amount of paperwork. This may unnecessarily burden the managers. As the goals are highly quantitative, there is a greater emphasis on short-term goals, and there isn't much room for long-range planning. The managers need to possess certain skills, such as coaching and counseling, when they need to learn. And achieving group goals is highly difficult on one department relies on another, and cohesion isn't always possible. Next comes the balanced scorecard approach. The balanced scorecard approach was introduced in 1992 by Kaplan and Norton. The balanced scorecard approach is widely used as strategic business management and planning tool to analyze critical areas of business. We can also say that it is a strategic planning management tool, performance management tool, a well-structured report which can be used by manager to keep track of the execution of activities by the staff within their control and to monitor the consequences arising from these actions. The balanced scorecard approach involves measuring four main aspects of the business, which is finance, customer, business processes, and learning and growth. So different to MBO or any other goal setting process, what is different in BSC or the balanced scorecard approaches, it divides the complete objectives into four dimensions, we can say, which is financial dimension, then the stakeholders or the customers, then learning and development, and process business. We will deep dive into these in next slides. So here you can see that the balanced scorecard design uses 4 perspectives approach to identify what measures to use to track the implementation of strategy. First is financial, which means encourage the identification of a few relevant high-level financial measures. In particular, the balanced scorecard encourages to choose measures that help inform the answer to the questions, which means how do we look at the stakeholders? Example, the cash flow, sales growth, operating income, return on equity. So all the financial aspects, how are we looking at those aspects and catering to the shareholders? Next is customer excellence, which means encouraging and identifying of measures that answer the questions, what is important to our customers and stakeholders. Example, the percent of sales from new products or on-time delivery, share of important customers purchase, ranking by important customers. Third is balance business processes, which encourages to identification of measures that answers the questions, what must we excel at? Example, cycle time, unit cost, yield, new product introduction, etc. And learning and growth, which encourages the identification of measures that answer the question, how can we continue to improve, create values, and innovate? Example, time to develop new generation of products, life cycle to product maturity, time to market versus competition. So the idea is that the managers are aware of the actual performance against the set benchmarks, identify the deviation and gap on the following 4 dimensions of the business, locate the critical aspects, and need special attention. This is an overview of the balanced scorecard framework, where the individual goal sheet is divided into 4 buckets, as I mentioned earlier: financial excellence, customer excellence, process excellence, and learning and growth excellence. In each bucket has respective objective and goals, KPIs and targets. So it is similar like the normal way a goal setting is done, that you have a focus area, you have KPI, you have target. But the only difference is all those KPIs targets are bucketed into financial, customer, process, and learning. It is not necessary that each individual has these 4 buckets. It is ideal to have, but there can be cases where, for example, in case of HR or any other back office role, the financial bucket might not be relevant. So you can leave that blank and put the other KPIs, KRAs in the other buckets. And after that, the review process follows as normal, which means that the periodic review is conducted by the manager with the employee on the goal sheet. The performance is evaluated, corrective measures are given, feedback is given, and then the final appraisal process happens. What are the advantages of balanced scorecard? So overall, a balanced scorecard helps the companies focus on performance measurement in more than one area. It takes into account items that can sometimes get overlooked in a company, such as internal processes, current customer satisfaction. So here are some of the biggest advantages of using this method in your business. Number 1, it brings structure to a business strategy, which means that different departments within an organization may have their own way of measuring performance and what they consider to be important in terms of metrics. With a balanced scorecard, different leaders and departments can still evaluate their performance measures, but it all falls within a set structure that can be understood across the organization. It gives a common place to everyone in the company to measure success. Second is make communication easier. Communication across the team members and departments becomes easier when everyone is speaking the same language. In other words, having streamlined performance management systems, meaning it's easier to talk about the strategy and progress within the organization. Third is facilities. Facilitates better alignment. So with a balanced scorecard, members of the organizations can easily link their objectives and goals at different level of the organization. It takes the guesswork out of trying to understand everyone's responsibility, and it gets team and department synced up with one structure. This also leads to having much clearer picture over projects and initiatives, which hopefully turns into a shorter turnaround time with more optimal results. Last, we can say the advantages connects the individual's work with the organizational goals, which means a balanced scorecard approach helps the employees keep their eyes on the prizes, so as to speak, which means their goals. Individual workers may find it helpful with their own performance, and what they can see is the greater purpose behind the goals and objectives they are aiming to hit. It also has the added benefit of helping employees find purpose in the organization, thus keeping them engaged in the work. Few of the disadvantages with the balanced scorecard approach has are, number one, it must be tailored to the organization. That means a balanced scorecard is supposed to provide a framework from which the work from. However, it still needs to be customized to every organization using this system. This can take a lot of time, and with examples as helpful, this can't be copied exactly due to the unique need of the business. So you can't copy paste the BSc roles KRA sheets from some other organization or some other department to another department. It needs buy-in from the leaders to be successful. For the business scorecard system to be fully effective, it must be implemented from the bottom, all the level to the top of the organization. It means that getting buy-in from all the leaders, which can sometimes take some convincing, not to mention that learning curve involves with getting the whole organization to use this new system. It can get complicated. The framework itself of balanced scorecard takes some time and dedicated to understand. There is countless resources and case studies to read from that it's easy to get bogged down with so many different ways of using this method. And it requires a lot of data. Most of the time, the balanced scorecard requires management and the team members to report information, which means that logging data. Many don't like this because they find it tedious, and also it can get in the way of doing the work required to meet the objectives. If you want to understand more about the balanced scorecard approach, you can read this book, The Balanced Scorecard, Translating Strategy into Action, which was written by Norton and Kaplan. Third is OKR, which is Objective and Key Result Approach. Currently the most popular framework. The Objectives and Key Results, which is also known as OKR, is a goal-setting framework used by individuals, teams, and organizations to define measurable goals and track their outcomes. The development of OKR is generally attributed by Andrew Grove, who introduced the approach to Intel during his tenure there. Later, in 1999 or so, John Doerr used this approach in Google. OKR comprises of an objective and 3 to 5 key results. Not to say that not only the objectives be significant, concrete, and clearly defined, but they should also be inspirational for the individual, team, organization that is working towards it. By inspirational, we mean that the person should get a kick and it should not be just very, they should be inspired to do those, to achieve those goals. Objectives can also be supported by initiatives, which are the plans and the activities that help to move forward and the key results and achieve the objectives. The key results should be measurable, either on a 0 to 100% scale or with any numerical value, and that can be used by planners and decision makers to determine whether those involved in working towards the key results have been successful. There should be no opportunity for any gray area when defining a key result. Doers recommends that an organization's target success rate for the key results be 70%, which means that a 70% success rate encourages competitive goal making that is meant to stretch workers on a low risk. If people are achieving 100% of their results, then on a consistent basis, that means the results or the key areas that you have decided needs to be re-evaluated, which means that either the goals or the targets which you have given to the individuals are very easy to achieve or are easily attainable. So you need to relook at them and make it a little more higher so that the person needs to stretch themselves to achieve those goals. This is the OKR framework. Step 1 includes defining objective. Objective should be unambiguous, theme-oriented, and inspirational. Second is measuring, which means defining 3 to 5 key results, which should be trackable at regular intervals. Communication, which means OKR should be understood by the employees. Track and update should be tracked by the employee and the manager on weekly basis through check-ins. And success is even 70% achievement of your OKR is considered as success. Okay. Advantages of OKR. OKR boosts efficiency and encouragement by telling managers with team members are engaged. This information is easily accessible through a weekly OKR goals check-ins process, which gives managers visibility into what they are achieving, who is achieving their OKR. OKR helps managers build high-performing team by improving and engaging individuals so that they will be better at their work. Learn more about the benefits of using OKR, which is below. Number 1, OKR encourages people to set ambitious goals, which means unlike the traditional objective framework of MBO, OKR isn't about setting safe objectives or expecting 100% achievement. People are encouraged to be bold enough but not impossible goals are set. So it follows that they might not achieve them 100%, but even 60% is okay. In OKR context, 60% of a really ambitious goal still represents great strides in performance. OKRs are therefore more inspiring people to aim high and push boundaries rather than play it safe. Next is OKR are reviewed regularly. This is another advantage. Forget the traditional way of setting annual objectives and reviewing performance at the end of the year. OKRs are typically reviewed and updated once a quarter. That means once a 3 months, and sometimes even monthly, which is much better suited in today's fast-paced world where constant transformation is the norm. OKRs are quantitative in nature. Many objective setting frameworks focus only on the goals, not how to get there. But the key results part of the OKR means you really delve into the nitty-gritty, getting quantitative results that define success. This provides absolute clarity on what success looks like and what steps, initiatives, or actions must be taken to deliver on strategic priorities. OKR is a bottom-up and sideways process. Traditionally, the objective setting process cascades from the top down, with the leadership setting objectives from managers and managers setting objectives for their team. With OKR, people have more freedom to design their own objectives and results that feed into the organization's overall objective. When every employee is involved in process of setting objectives and key results, they are much more engaged in the process of and have more ownership to the goals. OKR is separated from compensation, pay, and bonus decisions, which means OKR is absolutely divorced from the pay and compensation decisions, which is a great thing. Performance matrices that are tied to compensation can result in skewed behavior, where people play it safe to get their bonus. Now, because OKRs encourage ambitious goals, they may not be 100% achieved, so it makes no sense to tie them with the pay and bonus. The disadvantages of OKR is, number one, true alignment is a challenge, which means that OKRs are popularly among startups, just the organizations who deal with plenty of change. The problem is OKR can be too rigid for such agile environments. So as you review OKRs each month and each quarter, you might find that some are not outdated. And an OKR take a while to agree on and set. It doesn't look great to change them too often. So in this sense, OKRs can hamper change management and a team's responsiveness to new circumstances. Next is key results areas are perspectives. The key results areas are the stepping stones to your dream objectives, but there are many possible routes to your goals. Your team might have out-of-the-box problem-solving ideas, but if the brief is get a 4-star rating of the customer service, then they are going out to focus on that. So experimental and innovative teams can often feel held back by the key results. You could set OKR more regularly and consider making KRAs more adaptable. Last is organizations set too many OKRs. When you have ambitious plans and temptations, is to set more goals, but the problem starts or arises when OKRs don't align with each other. Employees don't know what to prioritize. So it's easy to say that just set few OKRs then, but different teams may have different priorities. So OKRs don't always translate company-wide. Your sales team might be revenue focused, but perhaps your product team have suggestions that compete with them. And this needs to invest more product development, for instance. So objectives and key results experts, Christina Wood, argues that companies should focus on just one objective and its key result. This would certainly correct some alignment problem. But in a complex organization, there can be more like a vague vision than a clear target. So your organization is overwhelming to goal setting rather than reaching goals, then it may be time to rethink. If you want to know more about OKRs, then you can read the book by John Doerr, which is Measure What Matters. It contains more of the practical examples of how Google and Gates foundations, etc., have achieved their world through OKR. Now, the next questions come how to choose which model is appropriate for our organization. So here's a brief idea to give you an idea. One is if your organization is strategy driven with an active strategy office, then the balanced scorecard approach is appropriate for you, where the advantage to choose balanced scorecard is that you get a comprehensive view of your strategy and make it easier to manage organization-wide. In case your organization consists of individual department goals, like your organizational goals are aligned with individuals and departments that are broken further, then the MBO approach is appropriate for you. MBO helps to create a system where the objectives were discussed at each managerial level and creating a system to integrate objectives. And if your organization strategy is to drive tasks and goals at individual level, then OKR can be the right approach for you, where OKR can help them, the employees or the organization to manage their company goals by driving individual level performance. That is all in this module. I hope you have got some idea about the three types of performance management models that we can use in our organization. Thank you for paying attention.